You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.
Rob, what's good, homie?
Mike, man, actually went bowling on Sunday. What a shit show that was, let me tell you. I told you, man. I'm practicing, bro.
Rob went bowling. Now, hold on. I got a couple questions. Was this just practice?
It was, but I drilled the ball.
All right.
First storm ball I've drilled in 4 or 5 years, probably.
Free ball or a ball you paid for?
A ball I had that I paid for way before I was on EBI staff. Okay. I don't know if you knew this, but I was on Storm for just like a little bit. So I was able to grab. Yeah, I know.
Wow,
that's 2 more staffs than you've ever been on. I know.
Put that shit on your resume.
I had an old High Road, the original blue High Road. So I decided to drill that up. And I went to the Orleans and saw my friend Joel, who, by the way, is a great ball driller. So if you guys got to check him out, go check him out. He's great. And so I got to lane the ball, $450 a game. Okay, like now I was able to get a couple of passes just because I just drilled the ball and I spent some money in the pro shop. But dude, like the lane hasn't been oiled in like 6 days. There were kids bowling on it for like 5 hours before. So they were brutal. I mean, they were so tough. And on top of that, dude, bowling 4 games now when you haven't bowled in, I'm starting to try to build up my stamina as a bowler. Dude, like I felt leaving there like I just got ran over by a truck. Now keep in mind I worked out in the morning, but still, dude, like bowling workout or bowling is a lot different of a physical activity than if I was to go like run and lift in the gym. Like I left there, my knees hurt, my back hurt, my hand hurt, everything fucking hurt. So, I needed about 3 or 4 days to recover. So anyway, so that was my experience at the bowling alley this Sunday. Or Saturday, I should say.
So let's talk about that for a second because I find it interesting, the $450 a game. Right, because that's it's a little steep, but and you mentioned how you just go out, you bowl on whatever's there, right? The lanes haven't been done in however long, etc. Like, I really wish there were a country club type outlet for bowling centers where you could get that kind of treatment. Where if you're willing to pay $50, upwards of $100 for a practice session for a couple hours, that they'll bring the machine out and do the lanes for you fresh with whatever you want. I think that's something that's really lacking in the bowling community where it's tough to find the instances to practice and get better. Even if you're talking about on your fresh leg shot, because it's really hard to go in and find that fresh leg shot put out, except for when you're bowling leg, let alone some tougher stuff. So, I wouldn't mind paying $450 a game. I wouldn't even mind paying $10 a game, honestly, if I'm getting certain access to things for that money. But go ahead.
The bowling alleys don't do a good job of accommodating competitive bowlers.
No,
they don't.
And it's not even. To me, it's not even competitive bowlers. It's like people who just like even if they bowl once a week league, that's all they bowl, but they want to get a little bit better. It's really hard to go in and find those exact conditions to practice on and make improvements on and try things on, because of the way things are and lane availability and the fact that when there's lanes available for practice, you're right, they're often not done, not conditioned. You're bowling on some leftovers.
I feel like if bowling centers started, even if they just took like 1 pair or 2 pair of lanes and they kept it, I'd say maybe fresh oiled, or they had it like marketed throughout the day even on a Saturday, that I feel like there would be a lot of more competitive bowlers coming into practice. But I feel like on a Saturday afternoon or even a Sunday afternoon, guys like me know that they're going to have to go in, spend maybe $15-$20 to bowl four games, and then bowl on absolute shit. It makes you not even want to go in and practice. All you really do is just practice your 5 steps, make sure you're throwing the ball good, make sure your balance is good, practice your spares, and just move on. But if I wanted to practice on like pro shots or like some kind of like hard shot to maybe get ready for a tournament, I would have to know someone in the bowling center. I would have to like have a friend who's a manager, a friend who's a lane mechanic, and then have somebody. If like right now, obviously, since I don't really have that at that bowling center, it's a tough way for me to try to practice. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and now let me ask this: like, would you be willing to pay more? Would you be willing to pay a premium for that practice session if before you started you could say, all right, well, I want this put on the lanes fresh?
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't I? Like,
and what is that premium to you? What are you willing to pay? At what point? At what point does it not become cost effective for you, or you're not interested? I guess. I
always thought that the bowling alley should go to more of like a membership type, like a membership type, like pay where I could pay maybe like CrossFit. Dude, CrossFit used to charge $150 a month. Okay. And you would be able to go in there and take maybe 2 or 3 or unlimited classes a week. I mean, Mike, like I would pay $100 a month if I was able to go in there and maybe bowl for maybe they give you a time pass and you're able to bowl for like an hour or 2 hours a week and pay like $75 a month. I would do that it was because that's important to me. That $75 investment, one, if I'm making money bowling, I could write it off. 2, the $75 would go, it's an investment. Dude, all I got to do is make money in one bowling tournament. That 75 is paid off.
Well, imagine what else they could do there, right? So, you could also offer other services that don't cost as much or easier. Like maybe you get a discount in the pro shop, a slight 10% discount, so it encourages people to go to that pro shop. So listen, I agree with you. I would love to see an atmosphere like that in centers, but we'll see. I'm glad to hear you're back, Rob. I still haven't bowled. I still haven't thrown a ball since March. So before we know it, you're gonna have way more time in on the lanes than I do. So yeah, I'm anxious to get back to it, I guess. But as I've said a couple times, it's a hobby, and I'm not going to rush my way back. I am going to miss league bowling in September. I know that it is kind of part of my weekly routine at this point, so it's something that I'll definitely miss. But, we'll be back full time at some point, so I'm not going to sweat it too much. Speaking of being back to bowling or not being back to bowling, Rob, there really ain't shit to talk about in the bowling community, really, this week since we last talked to the people. There's no events. There's not a lot going on. There's not a lot on the horizon. I think the next PBA event that's scheduled is the team event. Here's my question to you, Rob. The PBA playoffs never got finished. The World Series never got finished. The team event is coming up. International travel is involved in all these things. The clock is kind of ticking on the end of the 2020 season, I guess you could say, before we get into 2021. So what do you think the future is going to bring, or what do you think the future holds for what the season is going to look like?
I think we kind of touched on this last week. I kind of feel like it's just going to be made for TV events until everything is until the players and the tournament and the directors and everybody running it feels comfortable where people could travel safely without putting themselves or their families at risk for COVID. So I kind of feel like it's just going to be made for TV events, let alone where it is. That's up in the air. I mean, Nevada's open, right? I mean, I've been here and the bowling alleys are open, so I feel like they could run maybe shows even here, and people could still come here and have a decently good time because the casinos are open. So I don't think a lot of the pros would feel bad coming to Nevada or Vegas. And I just don't feel like that the real tour with all the players and everything is going to be back to normal. And I can't even say next year at this time. I think it has to be like a vaccine, and I think it has to come from a lot of the people that are saying that the curves are flattening everything is kind of like dropping down and that everybody can kind of go back to normal. But I don't think it's really a timeline now. I really think it's just up in the air, like what happens with science, right? And how they could like get a cure or
Yeah. I think that the international travel complicates it too a lot, especially for the PBA. So yeah, listen, I'm hopeful, right? I'm hopeful that things work out, but judging by how things have gone for the start of some other professional sports, you see what's going on with baseball. Not sure that that's a good sign for the PBA, in terms of getting these things wrapped up and wrapping up this 2020 season. But it'll be interesting to see, how things play out and going forward, what 2021 looks like. Because, there's probably going to be some influence from, 2020 and what happened here to the following year schedule. So I'll definitely be looking for some changes there. So Rob, there's not a lot to talk about bowling competition wise, but when you're talking sweep the rack, there's always a lot to talk about. Sometimes we're at the center of the conversation of what to talk about. So most people know, most people were probably following or saw, but I got into a pretty heated battle on Twitter with a guy from Barstool Sports, Barstool Carl, I believe is his handle on Twitter. And we got into it on Twitter. And now we're going to bring a guest on in a minute, Rob, right? And our guest is only here to discuss the initial aspect of this argument, okay? When this argument occurred, our guest tonight hit me up and was like, I'm sorry, I have to come on and I have to set you straight over this argument. I know
because I was going to set you straight.
All right, well, I was going to say, I know you have some words for me too, so let me set the stage and let me explain, and then we'll bring our guest on, and I'll let you guys have at it, and I'll explain. Then I want to go forward after that. We have a lot to talk about. We're going to let our guest go. You're only going to join us for a few minutes. We're going to let him go because we have some other things we got to talk about, ancillary business to all of this Twitter beef shit. So, all right, so here's originally how I got involved in this Twitter beef with Barstool Carl. He sent out a tweet, and I've been following him for a while. I've been reading his blogs for a while. And he sent out a tweet saying something to the effect of he met with somebody who had 21,300 games. And he was like blown away by that or something to that effect. You'll have
Called him a legend. Said he's a legend.
Yeah, a legend or something. So I went on Twitter, and as I have been for some time, and you can check the facts on this, I called Barstool Carl out for being a fraud, and I tried to explain that 21,300 really doesn't mean shit to people that are really in the know in the bowling community. Okay, so I put that out there. We're going to stop it there, Rob. Let's just say that it caused a lot of stir, right? So let's just focus on this aspect right now and this discussion of the 21,300s and my comment that it doesn't really mean shit. Let's bring on our guest. You all know him. We know him. He's a regular here. It's the homie. The homie is in the building. He hit me up. So we're going to give him the floor for a little bit, and he's going to explain to you people why I'm a jackass for saying that 21,300s doesn't mean shit.
Now, well, listen, anybody who watches or listens on a regular basis knows that already, so there's not a whole lot that I really need to fill in about you being a jackass, right?
Fair.
I have to say, I haven't seen you in months, because of this pandemic thing. You got a real Trump thing going on with the skin tone, with the white eye around the eyes. Like, what is it? What are you doing?
I'm just outside. Well, today I was outside a lot. I was cleaning up from the storm. I had to use the attachment
power company
saw.
now.
I had to use the attachment saw, and I had to saw some tree branches down. I ended up cutting the grass to get rid of all the debris. So I might be a little bit burnt and flushed
Yeah.
in the face, but watch yourself with the Trump comparisons.
It's the only guy I know who moves deeper into into the nicest area he can find and moves into more of the wilderness. I don't know. They move into more trees and brush than anybody.
If I showed you where I live, you would think I was hiding.
Dude, I have to jump in. I'm taking it as a compliment that Bill didn't say anything about my appearance. So
Rob, you look fantastic.
Serious?
I think you look great. You should make your bed once in a while, but otherwise, you look fantastic.
No. That's my mom's. You like it, dude? Seriously, like it's polo and it's got bears on it. It's comfortable too, man.
That's nice. All right. What are we talking about? We're talking
about my Twitter beef. I filled the people in on the Twitter beef and my comment to Barstool Carl about 21-300. It's really not meaning shit. And you hit me up and said. You're a jackass. I'm going to come on the show and explain why. So go ahead.
Yeah. So, all right. I don't really know anything about Carl. I don't know much about things he's written. I didn't really even know you had beef with the guy until like 2 days ago when I saw you post something. But this is I think is what your main problem is. A lot of times you live in this like insulated bubble of bowling where you don't feel like 21-300s is a lot. And I got news for you. It's a lot, right? There's not many people that can say that they have that many. In your world, in our world, right? Yes, you would just run into people comparing each other. Be like, oh, Rob meets somebody. Rob's got a lot of 300s. Whatever. Dave meets somebody. It doesn't matter. You're meeting people like in this small world that have that many 300 games. And amongst everybody, it doesn't matter. But you're talking about other people outside of this little bubble. It's a ton. It's an infathomable number to most people. And even if he is having a laugh and he's goofing, the thing that I did love the most is when you called him a fraud for hanging out with titans of the industry. And you called him a fraud, and he actually posted a picture with the owner of KR and the employees of KR. And I lost it. I'm looking at my phone, hysterically laughing. I'm like, Mike is just got himself into more Twitter beef, and he's dead wrong about this one. He may be goofing, but these are actually people who are well known and prominent in the industry.
All right, Rob, go ahead. I know you want to pile on. Go right ahead.
For you called, I think, anybody who thinks that 21-300s is a lot. You call them house hacks, I think was the quote unquote term. Like literally, like you called 98% of the bowling population house hacks. Like. And my point was the fact where like, dude, like there could be somebody who's been bowling for 50 or 60 years that bowls a 300 for the first time. And you know how much that means to them? And then you're sitting here like shitting on it, saying that, oh, it doesn't mean anything because in your world, 50 300s isn't a lot or whatever it is, 21 300s. That was my first beef was like, look, like there's a lot of people that, that are outside of your world. And that's what Bill's talking about, your bubble. That actually 300 means a lot to them. A 200 game means a lot to them. But since you're in this like, high level type of world of bowling, then you just are allowed to just shit on everybody else that thinks that 300s are a lot.
Before you respond, Mike, as one thing I want to say is like we have to be able to separate super competitive and professional bowling is over here, and then it's okay to have house recreational league bowling here. Like that's fine. These like people are allowed to go out and they're allowed to enjoy themselves. And if they want to bowl on something easy and rack up honor scores that are virtually meaningless, but they have meaning to other people, it's fine. Like it's like I don't know why we're discouraging people for wanting to do that. And it's all right to like enjoy bowling on stuff that's easy. And if they don't want to bowl competitively, like I don't know, that's fine too. I don't understand why we have to have like everybody who bowls 300s must be like try to go out and bowl in the tour or whatever. I don't know why we have to have everything be the same.
All right, so oh man, I have so much to say. There's so much.
Well, real quick, Bill. I know you're probably not gonna stay on for a while, but I did write down a list of the Barstool fans' tweets that ripped up Mike, and I'm gonna start reading them. Oh my God, see, some of the tweets are fantastic.
Can you just put it in a Google Doc and send it to me?
I will.
You can read a few.
Update it. We can just update it.
We'll let him go. You can read him a few, and then we'll let him go.
Yeah.
How's that? All right,
Okay.
you can exit him with that. We'll get a good
Okay, Mike, go ahead.
laugh at my
I'll
expense.
finish up with that.
So listen, I mean, this is a conversation between friends, right? These guys are my friends, people. This is how it is. You guys are full of shit, is the way I look at it. I mean, honestly, like, especially pro bowlers like you, Bill. You know, you guys want it both ways. You know, in times you'll say, "Oh, Joe Blow bowler." You know, the problem with bowling is they don't know what they're bowling on versus what we're bowling on, and that's a problem in the sport. And people can't see the difference, and they think they're on the same level with that. And I'm not saying you say that personally, but I'm saying pro bowlers I've heard take that stance or that perspective before. So if that's the case, right, then to me, we need to be more open about the fact that there's a huge gap between the competitive side of the game and the recreational side of the game. Now, in terms of shitting on people, I'm not shitting on people. You want to go and bowl 300s, have fun, whatever, that's fine. But why do you, Rob, why do you have to classify it as shitting on people if I'm just being honest about the conditions on which those scores are being bowled?
First off, you call them house hacks. If that's not shitting on someone, then I don't know what is. I feel like, it's almost like someone, you don't know what's going on in that person's world. So like you're like diminishing an accomplishment that they had. They bowled the 300. To them, that might be the greatest thing in the whole world. And then you're the person on the internet in the message boards going, "Oh, well, I have 30, 40 of them," or "the lanes were easy," or, you know, and it's just like, dude, like, you don't know what's going on in that guy's world or that lady's world that bowled 300. So like,
I hear you. I hear you. Okay. So I get those exceptions, but come on, guys. You both know that there's a lot of bowlers out there that bowl on that shit and like to convince people that those accomplishments are legitimate when they know that they're not. You know, and that's a problem with our game. It's a problem with the community in general to me, and that's why I kind of call it out. And I'll say this. I expect anybody with 21 300s, when they tell somebody that they have 20 or more 300, whatever it is, or even if somebody asks me, "Oh, how many perfect games bowls?" I don't know, a dozen, whatever. When they say, "Oh, man, really?" The first thing I say to them is, well, it doesn't really, it's not as impressive as it sounds, right? Is usually the way I word it. And and then they ask me, "Why is that?" And I explain to them, well, there's different levels of what you can bowl on. And I use those opportunities to kind of educate people, even random people that know very little about bowling. And it often leads to a conversation about professional bowling. And I tell them, yeah, watch professional bowling on TV. You'll see the lane conditions they're bowling on. You have to be able to hit a dime down the lane at 50 feet. Whereas the conditions that I bowled a lot of 300s on, I was throwing it into an ocean. And I use the analogy a lot in this argument on Twitter of, the if you make a comparison to golf, it's like the hole being the size of the green, and people still saying, "Oh, well, I have a dozen hole-in-ones and this and that." And I got to be honest, I think that analogy is somewhat fair. It might be a little bit extreme, but I think it's somewhat fair. And listen, I respect both of your opinions. You guys know that. You're my homie, so of course I hear where you're coming from. But I just see it differently here. I do. I think the game needs to do a better job of separating the recreational side from the competitive side. And there shouldn't be so much recognition for the recreational side. It should just be recreational. The same way that like putt golf is only recreational.
What recognition are they getting? They're just adding numbers. They're not actually getting who's giving them what's the recognition? They don't even give out awards anymore for it. Like what consider the recognition for it?
Yeah,
People
I guess
don't stop anymore when someone's bowling 300.
Right. Yeah. No. And you're right. I guess what I would say then would be maybe not the recognition, but the re-education, right, of the bowling community in general, of just knowing like that there's a difference between one and the other. I mean, God,
the golf thing, the golf thing, it compares a little bit, but if you read up on like things that are happening in golf right now, they're struggling recreationally pretty badly. All their country club memberships have plummeted. And if they could tailor golf courses, you're talking about nature. If they could tailor them to where that all the fairways look like this and all the greens look like this, and they could just reshape everything to make everybody in the middle all the time, kind of like what happens in league bowling, they would do it tomorrow. And it's easy to do it in bowling because because you can just run the machine down the lane. And people, if it was a little bit easier, people don't play golf because it's very, very hard in general, right? Then you have all these, these things about nature. You have trees. You're not going to knock down all the trees, right? You can't you're not going to remove all the bodies of water, right? You can't. There's just no way to do it all. But with bowling, it's a lot easier. Just run the machine down, hit a button, and the things are really easy, and you're not affecting anything. It's cheaper. There's a lot of reasons that they've talked about making the hole bigger in golf.
I know.
They talked about it.
I know. I saw a Real Sports on that actually talked about some of the statistics that you're referring to about golf being in trouble and the numbers dropping, et cetera. One question I would ask is just what other sport is there such a competitive? Is there such a difference, a wide gap between the competitive and the amateur ranks of that sport? Like bowling to me is the only sport.
I think you have to look at it. Okay, if you look at it in the long view, the way that everything is going now, with the way youth events are and the way college events are, and it's way more competitive than it was when we were bowling youth events. The lane conditions are way harder, and they're making kids ball in patterns, and there's a lot of different things. And so they're trying to build it from the ground up. You're never going to take people who are 40 and older right now and then just be like, you know what, we're not going to bowl on these conditions in league anymore. And we can't afford to drive those people out of the game. There's just we need those people buying bowling balls. We need those people practicing. We need those people in leagues. We can't just get rid of them in the game. So it's starting from the ground up with the kids. And as they keep growing, they're going to be more willing to change and maybe have leagues that are a little more competitive than what we had.
True.
I have a question for Bill. Belmo went on Twitter saying that he still gets nervous when he's about to bowl a 300 game. I was kind of curious to see if that was the same for you, or was Belmo just full of shit in his tweet?
No, a little bit, because it's not whether I add to a 300 number to me is irrelevant. But look at the other person that I'm talking to right now. If I get 6 when I have the front 11, don't you think that's the thing that I'm going to the text messages I'm going to get when I get done is from Mike about, yo, bro, yo, Hawk, 6, you got 6, and nothing else matters. So I'm a little bit more nervous than I am.
Kind of like guttering on TV.
12 when I am the 10th one.
Kind of like guttering on TV.
Yeah. Like guttering on TV.
Here's a question for both of you.
That stuff actually that matters to Mike. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Whoever gutter against me on TV, he's fine.
It matters. It matters so much to me.
It's mattered by such superficial nonsense.
Oh my God!
Everything that people would deem as not great, I've done all of it, and I probably more than once. So what else do I have to do? But I am fearful of those messages. Now, each individual shot, I can't be sure that I'm going to throw it in the gutter. So I can't be nervous. But that 12th one, I know that if I get 5 or I get 4 through the middle, if I throw it in the gutter, there's gonna be hell to pay, especially on this podcast.
Let me ask you both something. If there was a doubles tournament, somebody came to you and said, "Hey, there's a doubles tournament. I got a partner for you." All they would tell you is that he's got 21 perfect games. You bowling with him sight unseen?
That's how we built our college program.
I mean, that is the truest statement I've ever heard on this podcast.
That is kind of facts. You are the first 300 I shot. I was like, I can tell the guy.
Mike, Bill could vouch for this. My freshman year, I had probably 2 300s to my name because we bowled in the bullshit grind in Brooklyn and Jersey and all the crap, right? We bowled on. My roommate had 27 300 games, right? And my coach is like, good luck on the B team before tryouts even started. And I was just like, all right, we'll see what happens. And I mean, the honor scores didn't really mean anything because it had just happened to be where I bowled a lot at the time and I was good. But if the original question, right, if 21 300s, and I mean, I wouldn't, just because I have to know who the person is, right? Unless it's a house shot, then maybe I could work with it, right?
I'll be honest.
You just shifted the goalpost. You just made it about tournament competition when we're talking about league bowling. So you tried to frame it so it would fit into your narrative.
I'll say this: I would bowl a tournament sight unseen with somebody who has 21 300s. I would. I mean, so I understand that like it does mean something. I just if the tables were turned and it was me that somebody was going to write something that was put out on the internet and say, "Oh, legend," and attach 21 300, I'd be like, "Wait a second, I got to explain something to you before you do that."
Yeah, but see, this is the problem with you though. When you do those things, you don't explain shit to anyone. You just immediately just start yelling at them and calling them names and
or trying to fight them.
Yeah, you trying to fight the guy. Like
he sent out the first tweet about a fight to me. All right, don't even start.
It's like, yeah, but you got to pretend like you don't know what Barstool is and you don't know what they do. The guy baited you, and you took.
Yes, thank you, Bill. That's what my point was.
We're gonna have to wrap up now. We're gonna have to wrap up with him now because
wrap it up.
No.
Like wrap it up.
We're gonna continue the conversation.
Got that gavel up, B.
Rob's gonna say the same thing, so that's fine. But we're gonna move in a different direction.
Hold on,
Rob, you want to? Yeah, you want to read some tweets? Go ahead.
Go get a drink or go to the bathroom. Me and Rob are going to laugh at these for a minute.
Yeah, I'm aware of all of them.
Big Mike. It means he must run the joint. Big Mike, the gatekeeper of bowling.
Let me comment on that, right? These assholes. They're calling me the gatekeeper, right? Here's the stupidity of that. We here at Sweep the Rack, we started this show to present bowling in a different way, in a lighter way. Like we act like jackasses around here when it comes to the way we cover professional bowling. We love to have fun. You could catch me and Rob up at Bayside hanging out with the people up there. We love that atmosphere. We're not the gatekeepers of bowling here. I'm not the gatekeeper of bowling here. Don't even put me in that crowd of people who take it so seriously that they can't have fun with it.
He's falling into the trap again, Bill. He's falling into the trap.
You got all riled up with some random person on the comments of Barstool Carl who doesn't even know who you are. Now you're getting angry because he doesn't know what you stand for.
So this is the last one. This is my absolute favorite.
Come on, man! I've been stuck in the house since March. Give me a break, will you?
This was my favorite one, though.
To me.
Hold on, this was my favorite. I got
mentioned on a Barstool blog, son. Come on.
I know, look at him. Look at that.
Yeah, you got a screen grab of the tweet.
Dude, I do. I might make it my banner. Go ahead.
Big Mike giving a bad name to the communities of Big Mike, or the community of Big Mike. Dude, that one was my absolute favorite. The community. You gave the Big Mike community a bad name.
There's a lot of Big Mikes.
All the Big Mikes out there. You're the.
I shit on them. I shit on the name of all the Big Mikes out there.
They're house hacks.
Yeah, I'm legend, Big Mike. Get out of here.
Yeah. Next time I come on, if your name on this screen isn't house hack, I'm hanging right up.
Yeah. Dude, Bill's gonna laugh because I text Bill when this all was going down, and I said, how funny is seeing Mike get lit up by all these Barstool people? And I was just loving it. I was just laughing and laughing. I'm like, and he keeps responding. I'm like, that's the worst thing you could do. Sometimes you got to take the L and you got to move on. You can't fight the internet. You can't fight the trolls.
Listen,
you're wrong. Send them the tweet. Go back out. Do some more yard work. Get more orange. Come back in. Don't even read it. Just when you hit the button on your notifications, it'll scroll right to the top, and then you're done.
I actually got into some deep conversation with people on there, Rob. I think you're wrong. I think I did present a different perspective to some people on there. Some of them didn't want to hear it at all. That's fine, But it is what it is. I mean, I'm not afraid to have the arguments. I never have been. I ain't afraid people take shots at me, etc. It's fine. But listen.
Now I saw Ian Lang just pop up there. He would take offense to the house hack thing. He's got a lot of honor scores, I think. Yeah,
dude. I would bowl with Ian Lang. In the doubles tournament.
He probably would beat you up, Mike. I wouldn't try to fight him. He probably would.
I think that's a person that if you ask them, they would probably say, yeah, I understand what I'm bowling on, and that a lot of those honor scores aren't necessarily what they would even consider legitimate.
Yeah, but I don't think he's someone that either one of us is talking about. Ian is a good bowler. Right. And he also knows the difference. I don't think he's someone that we're even
Nor is the person who this was actually about. I'm not going to put their name out there. Rob, they tweeted at you while all this was going down on Twitter. So the person who this was about with the 21-300s is a tremendous bowler. I mean, there's no question about that. But that, to me, doesn't always equal the other side. It doesn't always mean like, oh, just because the person has that accomplishment that they are tremendous. But, all right, man, listen, we know that you want to go chill in the pool.
Bill, how's the pool coming?
Tonight.
How is it
It's
coming?
humid.
We got to get an update. How's the pool?
Yeah, it's been a lot of conversation on this podcast about my
Dude,
pool.
I love your pool. I saw a picture of it. I literally was ready to just...
It's almost done. They did the concrete the other day, so we just got to get it cleaned up and then we're good.
I will be down. Let me know.
All right, hasn't been invited yet, but he's coming down.
We will be down. We will be down. Let us. I'm bringing the whole fam. Absolutely.
I gotta learn how to swim. I gotta learn how to swim first.
Don't invite anybody else over. Don't invite anybody else over on that day either. I want enough room in the pool and the hot tub. I want to be able to stretch out a little bit. Don't have a crowd there while I'm there. All right.
Oh my God.
Pandemic, man. I'm checking temperatures at the door. Really crowded around here.
That's fine. That's fine. We're good. We're straight. We're all right. You know, come on. You know me. I wouldn't show up if there was even a question. Please.
I hear it.
Listen, you guys are off for a little while. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the next thing on the schedule is the league at the end of September, and I mean, like everything, we'll see. It's too hard to predict what's going to happen by the end of September.
You think You think there'll be some made for more TV shows?
I have no idea. I mean, I know they're trying to finish up the World Series and the playoffs. I mean, we didn't really miss out on a ton yet. The way where everything happened, we were pretty much towards the end of things anyway. So we had to finish up the World Series and the playoffs and the league. The Masters obviously got canceled, but we didn't. We only had a couple things left. So if we can wrap those up at some point, throughout the rest of the year, then we really would have only missed the Masters. So fingers crossed that we can do it. It's really the international guys is the big question right now.
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
We don't know. I think a lot of them can get over. We just don't know what it's going to be like for them when they go back. And so I think what they're doing now is trying to coordinate everything and trying to get everybody to be able to come over and like do everything one time, but then you have to worry about TV and what Fox is giving us for TV dates. And so it's a logistical mess right now.
Hammer, Brunswick, who else is supporting you out there?
Vice Inserts. Yeah, that's it right now. But they're yeah.
What about the podcast tour 2020 you're on?
Oh my God!
I did a podcast the other day. A guy me and Sean Rashroy. I didn't know Sean was on. We didn't go out together or anything. But just some dude hit me up. He's got some podcast. He said it's called Profoundly Pointless, and he said he had some woman who's a scientist. She has like almost 200,000 Twitter followers. I was like, oh well, if this person came on, then I think I probably should give this guy some time. And he says they get between like 100,000 and 300,000 listens on this podcast. That's what you guys get, right?
Yeah, it's kind of.
Yeah,
I mean,
around there.
Since we're talking about numbers, I mean, we get about 300. So, I mean,
Oh, you're the 300. You're the house hack of podcast.
We're the house hack of podcasts. Exactly. That's what I try to say. We get about 300, maybe 800 at a given time.
Listen, I get shameless self promotion here.
Okay.
Rob, you talked about Bill's podcast tour. I through my endless promotion of our boy, I bullied, and we talked about it before, but I bullied a guy in Philly who does the Sixers podcast into having Bill on. And since then, he has had Andrew Yang, former presidential candidate, and Chuck Klosterman, well-known author. And
they had Daryl Morey, who was the GM of the Rockets. They had Joel Embiid on.
Joel Embiid was on there too. You're right.
I think I was springboard for their summer podcasting lineup. I think.
I'll be honest with you.
Out of the big things,
out of the 5 names you just knew, the only names I knew were Joel Embiid and Bill. So I mean, I don't know anybody else that you were talking about.
Says something there. Bill, if you're not aware, we bet $1,400 on Kyle Troop against Pete Weber. Is that a good bet or a bad bet?
Was there 28 people in the bet?
No, it was 4 of us.
It was like the old matches at Woodbridge.
It was 4 of us.
I had only a small that action. The big timers were on in the chat room and over there.
I didn't have to know what any of you guys were betting. I just had to look at the tweets. And then when I saw Rob getting angry about ball choice for Kyle, I said, "Oh, Rob bet on Kyle." There it is.
Dude, I'll never ever. I'll every time I see that IQ Emerald now, I want to vomit. I'll be honest with you.
I was riding with you, homie. I was me and Bobby Kerwin. We had money on you, dog. It's all good. We lost.
Yeah,
okay.
you bet with your heart, not your head.
Yeah, well, it's all good.
That's why I don't bet on the Jets.
It'll always be that way. All right, get him out of here. We got some serious stuff to discuss. He can't be here.
Bill. Good
peace, homie. We'll be down soon. Later. All right, so more about Twitter beef, right?
Oh God,
because here's where things really, got me aggravated.
All right, say your piece, Mike. This is your time, Mike. Say your piece.
Well, I have a lot to say. I do. First of all, let me say this, okay? I ain't afraid of a beef. I don't even care if it. Rob was shook, okay? Rob was shook. I wanted to go live on Saturday night. All right, I wanted to come right on, and I wanted to start blasting. I wanted to put it out there. I wanted to have the conversation right then and there as it was unfolding on Twitter. Rob was a little shook. He didn't want to come on. He didn't want to go live on Saturday night.
I didn't.
He was concerned about the backlash from Barstool, etc. So let me say this first, right?
No, that's not. I'll tell you my reasons why I didn't want to come on, but I'll let you say your piece first.
All right, this guy, he's got 50,000 followers. All right, to me, if you have a blue check mark and you're associated with Barstool and you're on the radio and this and that, you got 50,000 followers. I don't know. I got to say that's kind of weak from my perspective. So that's number one. All right. Number two, I've been following this guy for a minute. All right. I'm not so sure that there were people in the bowling community, hitting me up left and right in my DMs, in my text messages. And I got to be honest with you. I don't think most of them even read the blogs, okay? So I encourage all of you, go read the blogs yourself. I tweeted a lot of them out, all right? And I get it. I follow Barstool. I'm a fan of Barstool to a degree. I listen to a lot of their stuff. I understand their slant. I get all that, okay? Here's what I'm saying. I don't think that's what we need in bowling, not right now. It's very tongue-in-cheek. It's not. It has very little to do with the actual sport. And like I said, I've been following for a while and reading these for a while. This isn't the first time I've gotten into a Twitter back and forth with this guy. So it's not the first time. Now I'm willing to welcome anybody into the bowling community that wants to
the gatekeeper.
Wants to do good in the bowling community, right? But if you're just going to use old stereotypical shit, then honestly, I don't really have the time for it. And if you go and you read the blogs and you really take the time to look at them, you'll see that's a lot of what it is. It's jokes about smoking and drinking while you're bowling. I think that the vibe, if you want to talk that way, that we should be trying to expose in bowling or get more of in bowling is like we've said a lot of times on here, is Bayside. That to me, that's the kind of vibe that bowling should be looking for. Not the old, stiff, quiet, sit on your hands vibe, but the, more upbeat, more, fan involvement type atmosphere that we see at Bayside. So, I saw all this. You guys can check the blog for yourself. I'm not even going to get into it. I actually told Rob to bring up one of the blog posts, but we don't even need to get into it. You guys can go and look at it yourselves and read them yourself. Part of it to me, Rob, is that bowling, any other sport that Barstool does that they do with a comedic spin, I find it ironic and funny and interesting. And the reason I do is because there's already so many people and so many outlets out there covering that sport with such a serious spin on it. So to hear somebody cover it with such a non-serious angle is often interesting, okay? I don't think you want to go that far in bowling to make that type of coverage about stereotypical jokes. If you want to have fun with stuff in bowling, listen, as we know, as we try and do, there's a lot of stuff to have fun with in bowling. Okay. I already explained I wasn't the gatekeeper. We're the opposite of that. We're the opposite of that. The gatekeepers are the ones who watch Bayside and their head explodes. That's not us. We're there wilding with the crowd.
We're
going to
leave this.
Doing it.
Can I leave this comment on for the next 10 minutes?
I'm taking it from every angle tonight. That's okay. That's all right. I'm fine with it. As I was saying, the fact that there is very little well done coverage of bowling. I put Flow in that category, but that's new and it's subscription. Obviously, it's not available to everybody. The fact that there's almost none of that for bowling. That just a couple years ago, when ESPN was transitioning to bowling on a Sunday afternoon, the host of NFL Live or Sunday Countdown would literally make a joke about bowling coming on.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Is that
True.
what we need?
100%.
Are you going to sit here and tell me that's what we need? Because that's what this is. It's the same thing. It's the same stereotypical bullshit. So if you're going to tell me that's what we need, I'm going to respectfully disagree with whoever that is that tells me that. I don't think we need that. Am I opposed to having fun? Absolutely not. Am I opposed to looking at bowling in a lighter way? Absolutely not. I'm all for it. Let's have fun. Let's look at it in a lighter way. However you want to do that. But we got to draw the line at the same old stereotypical bullshit, and to me, that's where I draw the line. So, that's mainly what led to the interaction on Twitter. I stand by what I said. You guys can go and take a look at the blogs yourselves. Rob, go ahead.
Okay, so first off, the reason why I didn't want to come on Saturday Night Live is for a few reasons. One, you were on major full tilt. You were. You were. Oh, 100%. From what you were tweeting and what you were texting, I was like, dude, he is not in his right state of mind. And now I've realized why you don't have a Facebook. Because you get on these crazy ass tangents and you letting all these people who are in your DMs and in all these they got in your head and they were living rent free. Let alone you admit it or you don't.
A lot of them were serious conversations.
Okay.
A lot of the back and forth had little to do with the Twitter nonsense.
Look,
it was more about the serious aspect of what I was trying to say.
Second thing is it's a slow bowling week. And there's no news going on. So we go on Saturday night and we're talking and having this conversation Saturday night. The hell are we going to talk about Wednesday? Because there ain't none going on. So it's I wanted to save it, build it up. Let's maybe you get a little bit of a clearer mind and let's air it out on Wednesday. I know you were hot. I know you wanted to go on, but I'm just Mike, you're not in the right state of mind. I don't want you to say something you don't want to say because you were in that, let alone if you agree with me, you disagree. I just wanted to calm down for a few days. Let it simmer. Look, I get the stereotype in bowling, okay? There are the pros right now. There's a lot of pros that are trying to get that stereotype away. And I'll name a few. Guys like AJ Johnson, Marshall Kent, right? That's not your stereotypical bowler, right? With the beer gut and the beer and whatever Barstool makes it out to be. Barstool will never do anything in a genuine way. Okay, and that's one of your tweets. Oh, well, will bowling be, if Barstool will cover bowling in a genuine way, then we could, kind of accept that. Well, Barstool will never do anything in a genuine way. That they make their living on being an onion, right?
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
To that? I disagree with that. I think that they do things in a serious way. You saying that makes me think that you don't really interact with their content much. And I'll give you two examples. Okay. Pardon my take. All right. It's their biggest platform. It's their biggest podcast. I listen to almost every episode. Okay. Now, do they have fun? Do they screw around and clown around and ask offbeat questions and offbeat topics, etc.? They do. But you understand through their conversation and their knowledge that they are fans of the sports that they are talking about, that they have a level of respect for the sports that they're talking about, even though they're doing it in a fun way. Okay.
Do you really think Barstool is going to come on and do serious coverage of bowling?
No, I'm not saying they should. I'm saying if you want to have fun with it, listen, in order to have fun with it in that way, Rob, you got to deeply know it. what makes us able in this podcast to pick and choose what's going to be good to have some fun with and what's not? It's because we deeply understand the sport and we understand the people involved in it, right? We have a deep understanding of that, a lifetime of understanding of that, right? So we're able to look at it at any bowling situation and pick out the thing that people like us are going to laugh at or going to have fun with or are going to appreciate in a different way. What I'm saying is that all other sports, the people that cover them for Barstool, they have that same level of knowledge and approach to the sport they're covering, okay? And you need that in order to do it in the right way. The second example I was going to use was going to be their golf podcast, which is called Foreplay. And if you guys want to check it out, you can. You want the story behind it, just Google it. They got removed from the PGA Tour. They got banned. And then the PGA Tour let them back in. They're now like the biggest podcast in golf. But when you listen to it, when you view their videos on YouTube, one thing you can genuinely tell is that they are fanboys of the sport of golf. So
yeah, and here's the thing:
once you have that base, you understand it in a different way. If you're an outsider and you're trying to come in and do that same kind of edgy, funny coverage, to me, it doesn't work the same way because you don't know where to go with it.
Here's the thing: is like I get where you're coming from and all this. Like, you want bowling to be taken more seriously, right? You want it to stop being a big joke, a big stereotype. And Barstool is essentially this Barstool Carl guy. He writes some serious articles, right? And then he writes a lot of bullshit articles, right?
He wrote one serious.
And it doesn't help fact where
the serious one he did, I tweeted that out back when he did it. And I said, this is great. Because it was funny, it was informed, it was good, it was well done.
Right. But it doesn't help.
Let's joke about Kyle Troop's afro, but let's not joke about drinking and smoking with bowling. You can't come up with something better than that.
Look, I get where you're coming from, and I get where like all this is coming from you, but like you fighting with them on Twitter is just, you're just gonna get piled on, right? Because we understand the complexities of bowling. We know it. A lot of people probably watching this podcast know it. But like the national public who doesn't, it's a beer and smoking type sport, right? And to them, it'll always be that, right? Until something maybe dramatically changes. Barstool understands their audience. Barstool Carl knows his target audience. He knows that most of the people that are probably going to read his shit are drinking and smoking and doing whatever funny or comedic things he's going to do. But the minute you go on Twitter and try to fight these people, all these internet, and you're just going to get ripped to shreds because they don't understand it the way you understand it, and they don't have the passion for the sport the way you have it, and you're just going to come off looking crazy, and you're just going to – and look, I get why you want to do it, and hey, look, I always like a good Twitter war and a Twitter beef, but, to get all agitated about it, dude, it's just, it's not worth it because you're not going to win, really. Honestly, that's just my opinion of the whole thing. Like, it was fun. It was fun for me to like read and have him, but
it's fun for me too. It's fun for me too.
Yeah, but you were angry. You were legit angry, and I don't care what you say. Yes, you were.
Let's talk a little bit about one of the things that made.
I know you were angry. You were angry that Coley responded to him and said, "Thank you for your support."
I was mad at his first tweet. Okay?
Oh, that he told you to fight. For the people watching, his first tweet was "Fight me, pussy." Now it's easy to say that. Look, if you're Barstool Carl, it's easy to say that behind your keyboard. Yeah, it's easy to say that behind his keyboard and whatever. But for you to get it, but the way you responded to wasn't exactly the best way to respond either. So like, two wrongs don't make it right. You told him that next time you saw him, you were gonna fight him.
Then he went on his blog and said that I wanted to die.
Of course. I mean, of course. But yeah, you fell into the trap.
Let's at least be honest. All right.
Well, let's talk about Coley. And let's talk about, like even Belmo, right? Who might still be watching, right? They support this guy, Barstool Carl, right? And you don't feel like they should be supporting him.
Yeah. So they retweeted him, right? Coley retweeted him and said, "Thanks for all your support."
That fucking set you off so bad. I was dying.
Well, listen, I mean, if that's the kind of support we need, I told you, go check the blogs, go read the blogs. But I'll give you the best one. There's one where he did a blog post with a sneaky video of an old man bowling, okay? And the title of it was "Don't let this old man anywhere near your girl's clit." Okay, like, thanks for the support. Thanks for the support. I mean, I don't know. Like, if that's the kind of support we need, shit. What do you want me to say? I mean, I thought to myself, did she even read the blogs? Has she even looked at what this guy puts out? I mean, I don't know. To me, if I were her, I wouldn't be retweeting that if this is what he's putting out.
Barstool has a pod hockey term. This is me claiming the Barstool Bowling Invitational. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's making a joke out of it. Look at the picture. Should I play the video? Let's play it. I mean, this is look, like, Coley is a marketing, whatever she is, right? A guru or whatever you want to say, right? So I get why she would, want to be on Barstool or any kind of Barstool's good side, right? So all I'm saying is, like, maybe she doesn't understand like what she's retweeting, right? So, or what she's getting into.
When you're the CEO of a professional sports organization, you better understand what you're retweeting. Let's be clear.
Okay.
Before you retweet some shit, you better go read it and you better go do your homework on it. Okay, because that's just not smart in general. And honestly, Rob, I don't. As we've said numerous times, this podcast is just a hobby to us. I get a kick out of the fact that the shit that we talk about, tweet, etc., gets so much attention. It's remarkable to me. But yeah, I'm gonna be honest, that pissed me off because we've been here for a while doing exactly what the PBA should want. Good coverage of bowling that's funny, that's interesting, that has some knowledge to it, etc. So we haven't seen any of that support. We haven't gotten a retweet. We haven't gotten an interview.
Well, she declined our show invite.
Yeah. Okay. So to see that, yeah, rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. I'm not trying to make it personal. It's not. I don't really care whether they support us or not. We're gonna continue to do this podcast.
Oh, Mike, I can't wait.
I'm not lying. Like it made me think. Did they even read it?
Mike, this is a show. This is gonna be a good show because
oh man,
you're gonna get ripped to shreds.
It's a good show for me. It's a good show for you.
Let's just bring him on.
Go ahead,
Mr. Jason Bell.
Emergency guest appearance by request. So when the best bowler in the world hits you up and says they want to come on, you give them the floor.
Well, I want to talk to him about his 300s, but we got to talk to Belmo. Belmo, what's good, man? How's it going?
God, I was just listening to the absolute nonsense spitting out of Mike's mouth, and I'm like, I can't handle this. I gotta roast him. I gotta do something. So I hit him up and said, "Get me on your show so I can do it publicly, so then everyone else can laugh at him too."
Oh, I can't wait! I'm so excited. You have no idea. I'm not gonna stand.
There are so many things that we could start with. I mean, there's so many things that he has said in the last 40 minutes or so that we can go. Well, let's just touch on, and I don't want to like rewind the show, right? So right now he's talking about what's good for the game in terms of what's written about it. And it's like, yeah, I hear you, Mike. And so does everyone else. Everyone agrees with it. We want more positive things and more serious things written about bowling. But it's like asking me to bowl one-handed. I'm not going to do it. And neither are some media groups. They're not going to do what you want. Now, what I would have suggested you to do is instead of, hitting the Twitter buttons and getting all mad, is it could have been an opportunity for you to maybe, quote unquote, educate Carl how you perceive the game to then, have him listen to you. But you're complaining that people aren't listening to you, and I wonder why. It's because you're a maniac. You're a maniac.
I'm passionate. I'm passionate about the sport.
And there's
I'm
a fine
passionate about the
line
game.
between passion and just being a crazy guy on Twitter. I mean, look, like I said, if you had have reached out to him in a very different perspective and a different tone, I don't know, maybe the conversation goes very differently. And maybe he listens to you, and maybe he starts writing in a way that is more, I don't know, acceptable to your standards. But you're also trying to ask a guy whose job is to get people to click his, his articles. And when it comes to the sport of bowling, his audience doesn't give a shit about the topography of the left lane to the right lane and how the oil has been manipulated by a 500 grip ball. Like, you're barking up the wrong tree. Now, if that article was written by someone like a Flow Bowling reporter, or a Bowler's Journal article was printed and it had that kind of tone and information, I'd be right behind you. I'd be tweeting the same stuff. But you can't be doing it to every Tom, Dick, and Harry that's writing about bowling, and especially when they're not supposed to be writing bowling stories. They're not supposed to be. He just did it because he happens to love bowling. This is his way of doing his job, and also, getting the word out there about bowling. So, there. What do you got to say?
I'll just say this. I think that both of you are simplifying my argument somewhat. My argument is not that we need more serious coverage of bowling. My argument is it's completely okay to have fun with it. But I think in order to do it in the right way, you have to have a real knowledge of the game, and I think that's true of anything. I think in order to really make fun of something the right way, you kind of have to be an insider to it. I stand by that. And from what I've seen from him.
But Mike, to what level? Like, you're not making any sense, because I know the game better than you do. So does that mean that by my standards, you shouldn't be doing Sweep the Rack podcast because you don't know the game as deeply as I do? Like, where is your line? And why should someone, be limited to the scope that you perceive to be, whether it be in your words, an understanding of something? Like, everyone has their own right to write about anything that they want. Like, you're stifling these people because they're not writing it the way that you would. And that's it. That's the only disagreement that you have, is you wouldn't have done it that way. So I don't like it. So I'm going to tweet at him and tell him he's an idiot because he's wrong. Well, sure, you can do that, but he also has the same right to publish an article however he wants to, especially when his media outlet is suggesting it to be in that tone.
All right, fair enough.
I'm waiting for the.
I'm waiting for the. I'm waiting for the. Yep, you're right. Yep. As I tell you in many of our conversations, whether they're on this show or not, I always appreciate your perspective. Even when we disagree, even when we see things differently. And yeah, this is just a case where we're going to have to agree to disagree, man. I don't see it that way. I don't think what I'm saying is so outlandish or crazy of an expectation. And to answer your question of where does one draw that line, I think the members of a given community draw that line. The members of the community get to say where that line is, where you are, you have enough knowledge or history with that community, with that sport, with that group, with that subculture, whatever it is, that you are an insider to it, right? You mentioned us not doing the show because you have more bowling knowledge. I mean, no, that's not the way I look at it. I think that once you have a certain level of knowledge. That's not what I
said. No, that's not what I said. All right. What I said was your resentment of his article because he doesn't know bowling as well as you do, or as well as the determined line that you have created, could be similar to me saying to you, why are you even doing this podcast, Mike? You don't know enough.
Fair enough.
Like, why are you
Right.
doing that?
Fair enough,
But
but I'm
that's
not
not
here
fair.
making
That's
jokes
not
about
fair on
drinking
you.
and smoking. I'm not here doing
Sure.
stereotypical
But
bullshit.
you may
I
tell a
mean,
joke about something else. You may say something in all of these hours of useless time that you're sprouting across the internet here, that you may say something that someone's like, well, Big Mike can't say that. He doesn't know anything about that. And then that's my argument. So look, all right, we'll
This could be
agree to
true.
disagree. All right. But I want to touch on another thing that I think is outrageous. And I'm going to go back. I think it's outrageous that your comments towards 300 games are meaningless these days. And I'm listening to you argue, and this is how I know even you're confused with what you're saying, because there's a difference between meaning versus skill. Okay, so you muttered some ridiculous question about if there was a guy with 21 PBA, 21 300s, would you bowl tournaments with this guy, right? And it's like, but the question isn't whether or not a 300 game makes you a good bowler. The question is it meaningful? And now again, to you and the line that you've drawn, well, your line is different to mine. Okay, look, you tell me your most meaningful 300, and I may look at you and go, that means nothing to me, nothing. So again, you cannot put your own personal depictions of a specific moment that is incredibly individual and say this is what it should be for the blanket. No, that doesn't work that way.
okay.
Just doesn't work that way. You can go one step further. You can go one step further and take 300s out of it and say that a particular tournament that you've done well in that meant a lot to you. Well, I could say, Mike, I don't even get out of bed to check the scores for that tournament, but it was meaningful to you. So
No,
you
listen,
have
you're
to understand.
you're right. I mean, a good example would be the fact that I coached
There
high
it
school
is. Did you
for
hear
a
it,
while.
Rob?
Wait,
Did you
hold
hear
on.
it?
I didn't get that.
Did you hear
Mike,
it?
well,
I heard
no, I didn't. I missed that. I'm losing internet
you
service.
two,
What was
you know, you two and Bill act like I am. It is impossible for me to admit if someone it makes a good point or if I can see things from a different perspective, and
No,
it's bullshit
half the time-
because
no,
you both
Mike,
know
half
me
the time-
personally, and you both
half
know
the
that that's
time-
not the way I am.
No.
Okay.
Half the time you won't admit it because you know that you're like the heel in wrestling. Like even if you know you're
Ooh,
wrong,
wrestling?
if
Did
you
you tell him
answer
to
it,
bring up wrestling
okay?
on this show?
right?
I didn't,
If you
no.
answer it, if you agree with it, then what's your role? What's your role in all this, right? Your role right now is to disagree and argue. So you want to play to that.
He's
that
the Skip
narrative
Bayless
so
of
you
bowling.
that's right. Well, when you're the
Well, I was-
gatekeeper, you make the rules up as you go along.
I was going to come at Barstool Carl regardless. I mean, he could have said, you know, a 900 series, and I would have called him a fraud and said it means nothing too, which is, you know, again, a little bit of a stretch. So I was going to come at him no matter what. So I'm willing to back down on the 300 comment a little bit. Okay, you know, I understand you guys' perspective, but
How about this for a solution?
Hold on, because you got to
Okay.
give me something here too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was going to help you. I was
You
actually
have
gonna
to
help
be
you.
genuine. You have to be genuine and at least admit to me, because we've had conversations about this off of this show. Okay, you have to admit to me that the gap between the recreational side of the game and the competitive side of the game is a problem. Can I at least get that? Will you at least give me that?
Yeah, and let me offer you some solutions, okay, to the problem. So obviously, you want to go back, I don't know, 50 years. We've had the same issues. It's the same issues. It's the general public do not even know that the oil is called oil. You know, I still sit next to people on planes that call it wax. Okay, so that's not their fault, right? That's your fault. That's my fault. That's Rob's fault. That's people in positions
What I
of
did.
power in bowling, right? Well, I'm just saying, it's everyone
I'm
who
just kidding.
knows that it's not wax, that it's our responsibility to educate those people. And we, as an industry, have done poorly, doing that across the masses. And I would even go out on a limb, even though I wasn't alive, but I would say that when bowling was at its true mega fame, popularity, we didn't do enough back then either to truly educate the people watching the game on TV what it really is. Okay, so yes, there is a gap between what we do, what we are, and what we're perceived to do and what we're perceived to be. So that's a question that we could argue about how we can go about educating that. But for me, the simplest answer is if you know stuff about bowling, then talk about stuff about bowling to people who don't. Okay, so let's move past that and my solution for your 300. Okay, so let's say the understanding of a 300 game and creating value for that 300 game. Now, I know what you're saying. You're saying that on a house shot, a 300 game can be done easier than on a PBA tour. And if you have enough of them on a house shot, it doesn't mean anything in your eyes. What my solution is why don't you tier 300 games with oil patterns? So I think that when you have, I think colored oil, for starters, colored oil should be on every single lane. Every single lane in the world should have colored oil. And I think you should stair step the difficulty with that colored oil. But then you could go one step further and you could illustrate that if you're bowling on a green oil, which could be potentially the easiest ratioed oil pattern, you can get your awards for green oil. You can get your 300 on a green oil pattern, and it may be very meaningful to you, and you can have that personal connection. And then you can also strive to get a 300 on a red oil pattern, which might be the next step up. And then you can go to the black, which would be the next step. And then you could go to 300 on a blue oil, which would be professional. So now you could, people like yourself could see somebody who, so if the question was, will you bowl with anyone that has 21 perfect games? Well, you could ask, well, how many are on green? How many are on red? How many are on black? And now you can get a better picture of if this guy is actually a really good bowler or if he's not. Because if he has 21 greens, 0 reds, 0 blacks, 0 blues, well, you can put him into you can safely put him into a box of, all right, he's probably a really good house bowler. Then you can go to someone that has 3 on green, 5 on red, 17 on black, and you can automatically tell, all right, this guy may be a better bowler. But the argument of meaning can then also be shared with value. So if I have a PBA blue 300, you could equate that to being your most meaningful because of the category that it has been put into. Someone who's only just starting out, a green 300 is going to be meaningful to them, and it should be. But that's how I could see as a solution to give you the satisfaction that not every 300 is equally as difficult to achieve while still maintaining some form of value to an individual who is bowling it.
Love that idea. We've discussed that before outside of the show. Love that idea. Let me ask you this question. If we had that system where you go different colored lane oil based on the challenging nature of what you're bowling on, okay? Do you think that if we go to that and now there's two leagues or 3 leagues bowling in the same bowling center, one's on green, one's on red, one's on blue, don't you think that naturally diminishes the value of those 300s bowled on the green? If the people on the green know that what they're bowling on is much easier than what the people on the black or the blue are bowling on?
Yeah, I think it puts it into perspective. So the person who bowls 300 on the green also has an understanding of the level of difficulty that he has achieved his honor score. And like I said, if it's your first, you're still going to love it, right? Or if it's your second, or if it's your third and you haven't bowled one for a little while, the meaning to you personally means that it has some meaning, right? What I'm suggesting about the value is not only can it, I guess, motivate somebody to move up in the sport of bowling to learn more about ball motion, adjustments, surface play, tricks and new adjustments of their hand position. But it also allows them to respect and appreciate, which then ties into the gap between recreation and professional bowling that you have mentioned. It then shortens that bridge where if I am scoring well on a green and I look over to my right and I see a blue oil pattern and somebody is 10 pins behind me, well, I respect that because I'm playing on a different playing field to that guy and he's only 10 pins behind me. Or if he's in front of me, I give that guy even more respect. I'm like, holy crap, like you're beating me and I'm bowling on something a little easier. And I have to agree with Stu Williams. This has gone for an hour and 15 minutes and it could have seriously have ended
when I see all
into the show.
When I see all you people in person, I ain't saying shit. I'm going to see you all in person at some point. Just know that. So listen, Jay.
Oh, he's going to fight us like Barstool Carl. Bet Bum will look out. He's going to fight us next time.
There's going to be serious conversations had. But Jay, listen,
look, I got to go as well. I know you probably.
I know we appreciate you coming on.
I just want to say this show has been really meaningful to me. Okay. And I know there are probably people watching this that it didn't mean anything to them and they think this is a stupid show. But I want you to know, Mike, I don't think like that. It is very meaningful to me. And Rob, I agreed with you for pretty much this entire show. And I can't believe that either. So we're growing as humans.
You took an easy stance.
We're growing here.
Stance.
And
it's maturity.
I wish you guys the very best. I'm going to go and read some Barstool articles now about golf and have a laugh.
You should, yeah.
There's a good one about a 90-year-old.
I settled that one. I settled that one. Trend. Get your trend. Yes.
Get the trend out today.
Get the trend. Let's get the plugs in. Come on. He ain't come on without a plug. Please.
Nah, look, listen. If you're watching this show, I don't need to plug anything. You either already know what I'm doing and like it, or you already know what I'm doing and think I'm an idiot. So I'm not trying to sell anything to anyone. You're either going to be on my side already or not.
Jay, take it easy, man. Be safe.
No worries. I can't wait till Barstool Carl gets a review of my trend after I send him a ball so he can review it for me and put some serious content on Barstool.
Yeah. One shot, everybody knows the rules.
He'll probably use it to drink a beer out of.
I'm out of
here. Later.
Rob, quite everybody listen, it's cool. It's all good.
See the shit you started, Mike?
Big man. It's all good. Come and get their shots in. It's fine. I'm a big boy. I can handle it.
All the shit you started over Twitter. It's funny. I mean, but it's good. It's a good topic.
Rob, we got to have something to talk about, son. Come on.
Yeah, but you know what though? I feel good coming out of this show. I finally didn't take the L. Normally I'm the one taking the L's. Today's a good day for me, Mike. You took the L's.
Are we doing our skit or are we too far over?
No, we'll do it next week. Yeah,
we'll do it next week. Oh man, I had some good ones. Don't
worry, you give another week so you could think about it because we all know I'm going to kick your ass anyway. So.
Oh, jeez. All right, folks, we appreciate you joining us. To be continued on a lot of these conversations. I think.
Yep.
Bowling's got.
I'm gonna reach out to
back in my life. I need bowling gambling action back in my life.
You know what? I'm gonna reach out to Barstool Carl. I'm gonna try to get him on. How about that?
Bring him on, son. I already tweeted at him and said, "Yo, you want to come on? Come on! Like, if you're gonna do it, if you want to learn about the game or you want to, like get some knowledge about it, come on." Like
I have 3 guests that I need. People: Barstool Carl, Robert Mushtair, and Rudy Revs.
We need Mushtar. That's
we gotta get. You want to talk about 300 argument? We have to make the 900 argument. That's the Mushtair episode.
True.
About how 900s aren't meaningful.
Maybe that'll be my next take.
Yeah, maybe Barstool will post an episode or blog about Mushtair, and you get to talk about how those were meaningful. But
true.
Anyway.
All right, thanks to Bill and Jay for joining us, unexpected guest. We hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, later, guys.
You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring